asked what it felt. How did you feel last year when LL Cool J read out Jim Parsons' name at the Emmy Awards and he won the lead actor comedy Emmy?
Oh, I flipped out. I mean, a win for Jim is a win for me and everybody on the show. Um, it was wonderful. It was very, very exciting. None of us were there at the awards, but we were all watching, and as far as the cast, but we were all watching on television, and immediately, I'm sure his phone was lighting up with text from congratulatory text from all of us.
Oh well, you'll all be there this year now that you've broken through in comedy series and you
We
got a
will.
nomination. So that's it. That's exciting.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it'll be a fun. Unfortunately, we'll have to work the next morning, so it won't be too
Uh,
crazy of a night, but it'll be a fun night.
yeah.
Very, very special night. I know, right?
Yeah. And what's uh Kimberly Renee has asked what's your favorite episode? What was your favorite episode to shoot?
Oh boy. You know, they really melt together. I have to say, and I don't even remember. Hello, Vera. I don't remember what the storyline was, but when we came back from from that terrible writer's strike, that 100-day writer's strike,
Yeah.
during that time, we were all, as everyone was, very afraid of what the fate of the show might be. And there was a real sense of camaraderie that we had gotten through it, and victory that we were back, and it was, I think that really drew us into the tight knit group that we are now, weathering that storm together.
And
But
one of the
it's not a good answer to the question because I know they're looking for a storyline, but I couldn't say. I really couldn't say.
yeah. Someone's asked, why aren't you and Jim on Twitter yet?
I can't answer for Jim. I'm technically challenged, as you guys know, in trying to set up this kind of thing, and again, I'm aloof, and so it feels like something that I would forget to do, and you kind of have to keep up and maintain those relationships, and just don't want to disappoint anyone, I suppose. And also, I don't know if much of what I do is either worthy of broadcast, and if it is, then it's probably something I'd like to protect and keep private.
Yeah, sure thing. Someone's asked, how did you find out about your Emmy nomination this year?
I, you know, the night before I saw them mentioned on the news at the announcements for the next morning, and I thought to myself, well, somebody will call me if Jim or the show gets nominated, and then I didn't charge my cell phone, and I was actually at my girlfriend's loft downtown, and so it took them about 2 hours to track me down and find me. I was sleeping, and I was sure that my agent was playing a very cruel joke on me, and I told him so along with a string of expletives, and then I realized, no, that's too mean of a joke, even for my agent. Yeah, that's how I found out. It was I still can't wrap my head around it, to be honest with you. It's a true shock and honor.
Yeah. Someone's asked, what other current comedy series do you watch on TV?
I don't watch a lot. I think because I work in fiction. My leisure time is spent with nonfiction. I watched 60 Minutes and 2020 and Dateline, and even my reading, I have a real tough time reading novels when I'm working. It's too much fantasy going on in my head. Does that make sense? It sounds a
Yeah.
little
Oh, no.
dramatic.
um, Someone asked, someone just asked, when you know, there was, oh, what? Oh, someone's asked, because of your theatre background, I'm curious, what are some of your favourite plays or musicals?
Wow. Orphans by Lyle Kessler. Is it Kessler or Kessler? I'm not sure. Is one of my favorite plays. Boy, I love a lot of Neil LaBute's plays, and I've had the pleasure of working with him the last year and a half and getting to know him. Boy, is it Martin McDonough? Lieutenant of Inishmore, I think is a great play. Not all that many musicals. I'm not that familiar with musicals, even though that's what I started doing. And I did a lot of theater growing up, but I didn't see very much because we couldn't afford the tickets. So I've probably done more plays than I've seen.
Someone shouts out a congrats for your Emmy nomination. They're from France. It's 3:15 a.m., but they didn't want to miss a live chat with you.
Oh, wow.
And they want to know, could you be friends with someone like Sheldon in real life? And they give you an X and an O, which means kiss and a hug from Paris.
Oh, I miss Paris very much. I absolutely love it there. For a time, was going so often that I made a rule that I couldn't go for a few years because there was just so much more of the world to see, and I just kept going back to Paris. Yeah, I think I would be friends with Sheldon. I mean, he's infuriating and exasperating at times, but he means well. You know, there's not a malicious or manipulative bone in his body. He's got a good heart. Yeah, I think so. You know, I'd take him in doses, small doses, but yeah, I think I would befriend a real life Sheldon, sure.
So you probably couldn't live in an apartment with him in real life, but you could be friends with him.
Yes. I've lived alone now for so long that I don't know if I could live in an apartment with anybody.
um, someone had a good question. Oh, someone asked, what do you think? Are you going for anyone in any of the other Emmy categories? So obviously not any that Big Bang Theory is nominated for, but do you have any favorites that you'd like to see win on Emmy Day?
In other categories,
Yeah.
boy. Um, yeah, actually, my good pal, and I don't say this just because I'm biased, because he's my dearest friend, but Walton Goggins, who's nominated in drama for his work on Justified. I'm really pulling for him. He's a dear friend of mine. I'm actually godfather to his son Augustus, and it's been really exciting for he and I to have our first nominations in the same year. So I'm really pulling for Walton.
And someone's asked, will there be a quick resolution to the Penny Raj hookup? And I guess covering that, maybe your reaction to that big end of season twist.
Yeah, that was a shocker when I read that in my dressing room, and moments later, Simon Helberg ran into my dressing room and said, "Have you read this?" And he was shaking angrily, and I was angry about it too. Not at the writing of it, but at the behavior of the Raj character. We're very protective of these characters, and most especially Penny. So yes, there's a lot to clean up. We created a bit of a mess at the end of last season. So it's a pretty swift. They rectify things in a pretty swift way, but it's also very sweet. And I'll say that not all was revealed in what we saw in the last episode of the fourth season. You learn a little bit more about what took place that night.
Oh, it could be some flashbacks or something, or
Not a flashback, but we do start this season. Begins the morning after that night. We've always before treated hiatus summers in real time and come back, like when the fellows went to the Arctic, and we've always treated it in the storyline like that. Those 3 months have passed, except for this year. We'll start the morning after.
will it have a hangover type feel, perhaps?
No, I think everyone
No.
was very sober. No,
Okay. um, so someone's asking, what do you think about the increasing amounts of dramedy on television?
dramedy?
Like, sort of like, I guess, your weeds, your the big